Hello and welcome to the United Devil with me, JB. So I'm back again, and I personally am of the opinion that the Gyökeres potential deal talks are absolutely done and through. That's how we're going to start off the stream. So I did a video earlier on today giving you my opinion, and this opinion is just based on basically what I think, what I've seen, based on my 35 plus years of watching the transfer windows. I know over the last X amount of years windows change and football changes, but the psychology and how people work basically over money will never change. So why do I think it's over and done? So in the last, I think, 2 hours or so since I did the stream, and what's really funny is I've kind of predicted it myself, but let's go back over it. Is Frederico Varandas, the president of Sporting, has basically come out and issued a statement basically saying that there's an amount of money that they need to make sure that they want to get for the player. Their gentleman's agreement that has been spoken about, I think, is coming more from the agent. Maybe the agent's told the player this and is not quite right. And I've put the statement in the description, so feel free to read that. And I think the most damning thing is basically at the end of the statement, the president basically says we will not be held to ransom, and it doesn't matter what the player does, doesn't matter if he doesn't want to train, doesn't want to do anything, they're still going to hold firm on the valuation, I think, of about 80 million pounds. So why do I think that it's done? I think it's too complicated now for United to do. I think historically we have not been very good at doing deals. So when we get stick in the mud such as this, so you've now got a club in Sporting who are going to dig their heels, and they've come out in the press and said they want an amount of money. You're going to look weak if you back down, and as we all know, Sporting are not a weak club. They know how to get their money, and that is what they'll do. And they also now have a player, but there is a caveat to that. They also now have a player as well that is going to kick his heels. So back to what I was saying earlier on today is somebody now can just come in and just pay that clause and just get this deal done. I clearly want this player, but it's going to make it so difficult now for them to do one because they don't have the skills to be able to pull off this sort of deal, and they don't have the cash. Well, a certain Mr. Varandas, irrespective of what you think about him and whatever else, there's 120 million plus there on the table, and United were able to turn that down. So the cash is definitely there. I think maybe not to do this deal and other deals, but I do think that if they really want to, if they were a big club, and we're talking about big clubs, and when I say big club, I mean a big club mentality on this. Now, United are a big club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, probably the biggest club in the world, but we just don't act like a big club. Now, if this is a player, and I do believe, I've already said it's out there, I think that he is a transformative signing. So Gyökeres, I think that he's important. I think if I was the hierarchy, I would do everything that I could. I would maybe not try to meet the clause. A big club would, but is there a deal that can be done that means that Sporting saves face and you get the player out of them? Because Sporting do need to sort of realise that these actions are going to damage the value of the player as well. So are they prepared to let him, sit there on a bench? Does he want to sit there on a bench for a year? But I generally believe he's that much of an important player and I've already said this, that he reminds me of Rude. When we signed Rude in 2001, we were going to sign him in 2000. He did his knee, and then we came back in for him the next year. And I knew, I mean, I was only, might have been about, I'm trying to think, 13, 14, and I just knew just then that he was going to be like a transformative signing. He was just going to be, I couldn't have been that age actually, coming to 2001, I would have been 18. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so I'd have been 18 years old when Rude signed. So I remember that signing because I just knew he was going to be this amazing player, and he was. And I think that Gyökeres is basically going to be, just trying to think there, but he's going to. I do think he would be the same player. I think he would have the impact. He just reminds me of him so much, not necessarily in play style. I think he's got a lot more. He's got a lot more pace. He's not just a penalty box striker. Rude was, but I mean there was a game against Spurs where Henry basically ran through the basically like the whole of the Spurs team and scored this amazing goal, and then basically Rude went and did like the same thing. So he could run, he could have pace, but in that box he was second to none. So Gyökeres for me, he's more than that. You know, I think he can do everything outside the box. He's fast, he's pacey, but he just reminds me of a proper modern and up to date, but that new number 9 who's fierce, who's pacey, who can pass, you can spin him behind, you can do everything that you need the forward line to actually do. So, and I just think he's a lion. He just reminds me so much of that kind of Mark Hughes type, that Andy Cole type. And I'm not talking about play styles, and I'm not talking about how they were on the pitch, but he's just a United player. You can just see, you can just tell if the problem that his fan base, I think, has got, particularly the sort of younger players, is that we've been starved of proper players, and we get like a Rasmus, we get a Sancho, we get a Pogba, we get all these players who are player FC effectively without actually doing much. And we used to be a team full of just standard players, bog standard, ordinary players. I mean, that's not really fair on them, but you take somebody like a Junsi Park, and sorry, on a Park Ji-sung, and on the face of it, on what he was used for, was he one of the world's best players? No. On his day and in that position, he was. Like, there were parts of his game, but the thing that he had, like everybody else in that team, was a level of respect, was a level of he just worked hard, and that's something that we don't have. But this player, I do think, has that, and I think he's it's not just about goals, it's about culture, and I really do think that he's made in that mould of kind of the old school thinking, that he just wants to do the best for the team, he just wants to score goals, and that's what he wants to do, and that's what his aim is. So I think it's really, really sad. I just don't see how we do these deals. I don't see how we do this deal now. I just, unless we act like a big club and we change what we've done for the last 12 years, I don't see how we get this deal done. So I'd love to know how you guys think we get a deal done. If you think we can get a deal done, who do we pivot to next? Because we do need to pivot, and we need to pivot fast, because now not a lot of strikers out there. So the only other striker is an Osimhen. Napoli are going to know very soon or not that he's going to be the only striker left out there that we need to go get. And as much as they don't want him there, there is obviously a price. Now, a lot of people are saying we should just do like a swap deal with like a Xerxes, but are so difficult to do. And Osman, from what I've seen, and this is my opinion, seems like a really difficult character. Not necessarily him, but I think it just really seems like a really difficult thing to do. So you're going to have him, you're going to have Xerxes or whoever's agent, they're going to have their agents, and my camera's now just moved up, which it needs to pack up doing, because I'm going to have to duck down now because it's following me. Honestly, these cameras. I have to sort that out. I'm going to have to do some sort of weird thing now with the camera. It's going to do my head in now. So it's basically just going to be my face now for the next. That will do. That will do. It's just going to have to do. Honestly, cameras. So, yeah. So, effectively, I just don't know how we do this deal. I think we should pivot very, very fast. I think a big club would just now go, we're going to pivot. We need to know what the plan is. Otherwise, I just don't see. Let's sort this camera out. Honestly. Oh, shocking. It's awful. Honestly. This goddamn camera. So, I really fear for what it is we're trying to do. I just don't know. The last 10, 12 years have pointed me in the direction that we don't know what we're doing. I still don't think we have the right people in charge, just because we have a team in charge. We have a very inexperienced at a club like ours. So I just wonder if Mr. Ratcliffe and Mr. Glazer will, because we all know that they still run the club, are they going to leave us get to the end of the window again and completely overspend again? So another scenario that I can see is that we chase this player all the way to the end of the window, and I'm not necessarily bothered this time about getting him in before the pre-season, because I know that he can play the system. But the problem is, the more we overspend, the more debt that we get, and the less money we're going to have on play. So I do agree that we need to be astute, and we need to start thinking more about the money that we spend. But would you rather not meet in the middle now, pay a little bit more, maybe say if it's 80 million, maybe you go up to 75, I don't know, 72, as opposed to chasing him at the end of the window? They know the player wants to go, the club have all the power, and then we end up paying 90 to like 100. So I just, a big club, and for all this, us trying to get our business done early doors, and people saying, oh, we're bossing like the window. We've signed one player. That's all we've done, is we've signed a single player. So what we now need to do is we now need to act like a big club and get these deals done. So we need to go and get a striker. We need to pivot. Calvert-Lewin is out there, and my biggest fear is that we're going to end up with him, because he's a free deal, and we're going to end up with a Calvert-Lewin on a free deal, because we can't get a striker, because there's no value in the market, and we're going to end up with an English wished here Harry Kane, who's not even that. Imagine having an up front of Calvert-Lewin and Jamie Vardy. I honestly can see that, and that's one of my biggest fears, is that I can just see that, and then Arsenal will get like a Shesko, and then the Gyökeres deal he'll end up going to PSG or to like whoever else, and then Osherman will end up at PSV or PSG. So it's just, I just feel we're just not very good when things happen that are outside of what we can control. So I think sadly today is where the Gyökeres saga I think ends, and I think if we know we cannot get him, we know we cannot afford him, then we need to move. We need to move fast, pivot to somebody else, not Calvert-Lewin, because that would just be, I don't even want to think about it. That'd be horrendous. But let me know any striker targets that you think that we could get, that we could pivot to, who you think we might get, who you think you've heard that we might get. But I really hope I'm not right about Calvert-Lewin, because he might be the only one left. So, oh dear. Well, if anything else breaks, let me know. Feel free to let me know in the chat, and I'll get back to you as soon as I know anything else. I think I've called this one already. I called it the first video that I did this afternoon. I sort of knew this was going to happen, and let's see how we respond. Are we a new United, or are we the same old? Let's find out. Take care, and I'll see you very soon.